Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Salt Mine. Thank you for bearing with us. We do promise it will be worth it. Because my name's Hummus, I'm joined by Quacks, and we've got week 6 of Aegis Champions League. UC Irvine Esports versus Weber State University. It's a CLO matchup in Aegis, and I'm hyped. Are you hyped, Quacks?
I am, and I mean, we saw Weber, at least I did, a few weeks ago when they went up against Uncles, and that was an extremely close series, but unfortunately, Uncles, I believe, were able to clutch that one. Or no, Weber were able to clutch that one out. So last time we saw them, they went to a Game 3 victory against the Uncles, and now they're going up against UCI and Hummus. Before we went into this cast, you told me that Weber and UCI, every time they've interacted, every time they've met onto the Rift, it has been a UCI victory. So not only is this a qualification match to see who will be the first of these two teams to get those 4 games into the playoffs and secure that spot, but it could be a potential long-term revenge plan here for the Weber State boys. And I am extremely excited to see which of these two teams is going to be able to clutch it up.
Like you mentioned, both Weber State and UCI are titans of CLOL West. They both made it to playoffs, I believe, round of 32 for them. These are very well documented programs with a lot of history and all of that. And normally, I asked them before game, I asked the Weber captain, I was like, hey, anything you want me to say on cast? Because, like, you're a Weber, you're cool. And they were like, this is a rivalry for us. But also, it hasn't gone our way. And I looked. Of the 3 times they faced off, they've gone maximum games in a series twice, both in CLOL. So, Quacks, I wouldn't hold my breath on a 2-game series here.
And I mean, for the loser of this series, they're going to have to go maximum games in order to try and qualify. The loser of this series is going to be at the arduous, extremely thin tightrope of being 3-3 going into week 7. And that is just a position that you never want to find yourself in, Hummus, whether it be in series going to game 5, going to game 3, like you're saying, it's possible. And now, having it be life or death next week potentially for you in the Swiss stage, you want to try and avoid that. So a series win here would be huge, not just for qualifying, but for avoiding a potential mental, emotional, and who knows, maybe even physical disaster going into next week. The stress is going to be extremely high for the teams that have to partake in that grueling week 7 qualification. One of these teams really hoping that it's not going to be them. But I do like that you talked about Weber. I feel like Weber, especially on this cast, Thomas, we have fleshed them out extremely well. This is basically the exact same team that they run in CLOL. I believe Batao and maybe Mystiques are the only members that aren't from their CLOL program. And I think that they have fit into this team like a glove. The team that I am really looking to see what they're made of for the first time here on the Salt Mine is UCI, the guys that routinely beat Weber State, and a team that in the top 32 that you talked about, Hummus, had a little bit of a disappointing crash out in the lower bracket. They crashed and burned much sooner than many people thought.
News is that this isn't CLOL. This isn't collegiate at all. Yes, we have 2 collegiate teams, but this is Aegis. This is prep for NACL OQs for a lot of these teams. This is so far out of collegiate. We are on draft here because things changed and we're fancy. Looks like we're going to have UC Irvine on the blue side, Weber State on the red side. As always, we're going to be looking at Blue 1 and R5. And Quacks, we were talking a little bit about the tempo changes that came with the patch a couple weeks ago that put us on the new split and the new map. What are we seeing in terms of prio here? What are you hoping to see out of UC Irvine?
Well, we're actually playing on the new patch, Thomas. We have evolved beyond, I believe it was, 15.9. Now we're on 15.10. So a couple of things have changed. Nothing too, I would say, major, but a noticeable trend that we have been seeing, particularly on this red side, Hummus, is sort of the lack and loss of the Nefiri Gwen monopoly. Or I should say, die monopoly here. They have basically populated the bans for Red Side for several weeks now, to like around a month. And now the champions have been nerfed enough to where teams on the Red Side are feeling comfortable leaving them up because they have some counters ready and available. Nefiri in the jungle in particular really dropping off, I think, in this recent patch and not necessarily as strong. I don't expect Weber State to be super privy to going for it. I don't think U13 is one of the guys that is super high on the Nefiri, but it's obviously something that is going to allow them to maybe throw some more preferential bans the way of UCI, maybe get some of those mid-marksmen and target Zhao Danny.
Well, for right now, we're starting it off with the Camille and Garen bans by UCI and the Shen and Volibear bans by Weber State. And I gotta say, I'm a little out of touch. I've been working overtime. I haven't been keeping up on my patch notes from NACL. But those don't feel like super meta bans that I'm seeing here for the most part.
I mean, Shen is extremely strong right now, has been very, very popular in the top lane over the past week or two. Another top lane pick that has been relatively, high priority is that Yorick. So I am wondering if we're actually going to be seeing that, the 4-1 split that it can provide, especially with the changes to Grubs. The individual ones are now stronger than they were before the split changes. So even just getting one can make this man a thorn in the side of whichever team has to go against it. Azir is going to round us out for the bans. And UCI, like you said, Hummus, they're on the blue side. Yorick is up and available. We know that UCI, though, really like to target some of those AD carries. Zhao Danny is one of the members in the mid lane that loves those marksmen, even though they aren't necessarily as strong nowadays as they were, say, a year ago. They are still popular, but they're going to get with the times, and instead they're going to lock that Yorick, secure the scaling for their comp.
Indeed, and with that, Victor picked up, it might not be the traditional marksman that we saw, but Victor, popular, you said, does a crap ton of damage when he gets scaling and going and moving. And now Weber State, they have a choice. They get to figure out what they want to put into that mid lane. And as the clock ticks down, as we wait, it's going to start us off with a Jin Zhao. So we're starting jungle, and we're going guns blazing.
Yeah, this isn't a very unpopular pick for you in particular. Offers a lot of setup, a lot of tower dive potential as well. So if Weber State want to index into going aggressive into some of the champions like Victor, who don't necessarily have that level of defense that you need to withstand a tower dive, I think this could be an angle for Weber to attack. It's just a matter of what they surround this Xin Zhao with, and they're actually not going to go for the instant right away counter onto the Victor like we were predicting, Hummus. Instead, they're going to be working around it a bit, locking that Varus down, getting that Chains of Corruption. Again, it's just about selecting one specific member with the Xin Zhao, with the Varus, and punishing them, getting Weber State a potential just pick before a fight starts.
And for UC Irvine, they're going to pair the Victor with the Misfortune, going to be piloted down in the bot lane by Gorka down there. And if a Spidey sense tells me correctly, we're going to be looking for that support pick here to round us out of round one. Misfortune, classically, I know it's the Leona, or champions like Leona, the Rel, all of that.
Well, yeah.
I don't think that's... Oh, we're going Wukong in the jungle. Okay.
Yeah. No, so we're pivoting completely the other way. We're going to be going for that jungle counter pick instead of opting into the supports. It's going to be UCI holding that one for the time being. And honestly, I like this. I think that Wukong and Xin Zhao is definitely a skill matchup, and one where Xin Zhao can't just straight stat check Wukong because of that stone skin. The armor just allows him to duel with Xin Zhao in a way that most other champions can't really keep up with, especially in that early game. And now Weber actually going to lock in that Orianna. So on top of the pick, they're going to have sort of a bridge to go just straight into the team fighting with that Shockwave. I like the team fighting comp that Weber State are going for so far. This also just feels like a very tried and true Goku pickup. He loves his mages, and he loves to be able to bounce off of his team, particularly loves to bounce off of you. And so I do think that this is right up their alley. I do have to say, though, they are lacking in the damage department, particularly, for the long term. They've got a decent amount of burst, I would say, with the Varus, with the Orianna, but you do need one of those champions that can, at the very least, get the Wukong away, get the Misfortune away, get the Victor away, prevent those guys from getting into your back line, and maybe, lean in more toward those extended fights.
As we get towards the second round of bans, Leona Alistar are getting taken off the table by the Weber State. They recognize the threat that Misfortune with a proper support plays. You're talking about damage and burst and all of that, and I'm just sitting here in the back of my head going, bullet time, bullet time, bullet time. If Gorka can get the bullet time laid down correctly, it doesn't matter how much burst you have, because if you're CC'd up in it, you're just kind of going to die, especially once that Misfortune has Collector. So I am happy to see that Weber State's answering it a little bit by saying you don't get the Leona, you don't get the Alistar. They're going to pick up the Rel. The Braum also banned away, and that leaves the pickings for a tanky, supporty CC support kind of slim for UC Irvine as we head into pick 4 here.
Yeah, it's kind of up in the air whether or not they're just going to immediately respond with the support, and they are. It is going to be the Poppy. I like this a lot. We saw the takeaway of that Braum, the takeaway of the Alistar. A lot of those disengaged supports weren't up and available. And so I do think that Poppy probably is the best that you could get with what is currently still open and available. And it also just allows, I think, UCI to do something that we haven't seen so far in the draft, which is go on the offensive, right? Poppy slamming them into a wall, giving Misfortune, Wukong, Victor, whomever, the opportunity to follow up with that crowd control and maybe just get a pick themselves. This is something that Weber are heavily indexing into, and I like that UCI are kind of throwing a no-you Uno reverse card at them, saying, hey, we have the ability to find you too. You have to be careful around your jungle, or else we're just going to CC chain you and absolutely murder you. And Weber are going to round out their comp with a Gwen. So they've got double magic damage solo laners against an Ornn. So it is going to be, I will say, this is a very difficult game for UCI to build against. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to upfront damage here by Weber State. And I do think that they are going to have to sort of hold fast and turtle until those 3 to 4 items where they can get those resistances and defenses up. But that does come with its innate risks, especially when you're going against Gwen.
There is a saying, Quacks, about too many cooks in the kitchen not being a good thing. So I almost feel like Weber State could kind of do it to themselves a little bit here, potentially. As we look, as you mentioned, towards those third and fourth items, also importantly, the huge benefit of putting Strompest on that Ornn is that around that time you're going to start having those ornaments come out, those magic work items, and that's just a little bit of an extra little boost there. I do like the team comps from both sides, and as I'm saying that, I'm hearing in my ear that we are super cool. We don't need a break. We just have the Rift. So we will be flip-flopping away from our faces onto an absolutely beautiful map for game number 1 here in week 6.
Yeah, both teams loading on up. Zhao Danny in classic fashion. The man forgets his items, but he notices in time. He's going to go back and get them. And nothing too crazy, at least draft-wise here in game number 1. These are all very stock standard, sort of in line with the meta compositions that haven't really broken the mold at any sort of, angle. I would say the most crazy pickup here is definitely going to be that Ornn by Strompest. But besides that, I mean, you don't really have anything too crazy, and I feel like we've seen these comps a million times. That will mean that we know what to expect from both of these comps. We're probably anticipating a lot of action between the junglers early to try and wrestle control of these neutrals and play off of their 2-item power spikes, and that bot lane really going to be the focal point, I think, for both junglers to path to and to focus down.
Well, hey, I'm a play-by-play, so you want to give me action? I will take action all night long. I do also want to mention, while these are stock standard drafts, we might not get all of those. This is a full Fearless series, so if we start getting towards game 3, maybe things get spicy. But for now, 10 champions on the Rift, not a whole lot of spice to start off with. Just some of that gentle poke trading. And I mean, Mystiques is in a bush, just looking to land some of that damage down on a Cerulean anyway. And as we develop into this, both the junglers are going to be cross-pathing. So Rosethorn going to end up on the bot side, you going to end up on the top side, and we'll see how that develops in the next couple minutes as they finish up those first clears.
Yeah. I am wondering, we could see a little bit of push developing here on the bot side of the map, and you, like you said, started on his blue side. So if he wants, he could maybe look for an aggressive play onto Rosethorn with that priority, potentially call Mystiques up toward that enemy red side and maybe look for a play onto the Wukong. But it's like you said, Hummus, I don't think we're going to be anticipating a ton of action, a ton of aggression here in the early inaugural minutes of game 1. It's just going to be some very stock standard stuff. There isn't a lot of spice, as you put it, and this is, I would say, a little bit different from what I'm used to, particularly from UCI. Usually when you look at Zhao Danny, usually when you look at Gorica, when you look at a lot of the major carries for this team, they love to play just the upfront damage dealers that are extremely strong in that mid game around those 1 to 2 items, as it looks like we have a bit of a tech issue. So we're back to our faces. We're back to cams here while we wait to figure that out. Not a lot has happened so far in the game, Hummus, but again, very, I would say, different identity here in game 1 for UCI than at least what I am used to. Then again, I'm not the most, I'm not the biggest UC Irvine fan. My mom did go there, though.
I mean, they're the anteaters, so, like, they're cooler than a lot of other things, because, I mean, Weber's the Wildcats. How many Wildcats are there out there? There's a lot.
My girlfriend's school, literally, their mascot is the Wildcats. So, yeah, her high school was the Wildcats. So that is, you definitely have a point there.
So if we're talking just like pure mascot points here, UCI Irvine all day. However, when we're looking at the game, we're looking at some of those early minuscule advantages. Obviously, we're not anywhere in the game where kills have happened or golds have happened. But what I am seeing is Betao in that top side on the Gwen hit level 2 first. Got some really good damage down onto Strompest. And, Ornn doesn't need to really recall in lane unless he's injured, and Gwen's doing a great job of that. Bot side, Sendy Mystiques, they hit level 2 first. So I'm not saying there's any writing on the wall yet, but those small advantages, they're starting to look Weber's way just a little bit.
But I mean, those advantages only become that if you can capitalize off of them, right? And so far, we aren't seeing a ton of action from the Xin Zhao. I think before we went went into break, we saw you on the Xin Zhao just crossover. He's probably going to be looking for a full clear, and honestly, that's the safer option, I would say. I will also tell you, Hummus, that I do like that you pointed out the top lane push. Then again, it is really going to be, I think, difficult for Batao to actually get a kill onto Burrito. Orange should just never be dying in this game. If we see Burrito go down in this laning phase, something is deeply wrong.
Time will tell as we get back in the game, back on the Rift. Yu is up towards that top side. Rosethorn back towards that bot side. We're at 3.5 minutes. So this is the time where we would start seeing first ganks if they were to come. What I'm seeing is Rosethorn pathing back up towards that top side. There's vision, and we might... does Burrito still die if he gets dove here? Because I think he does.
I mean, Rosethorn is here to dissuade it.
It. Oh, Rosethorn coming in an exchange. Yu's going to get the damage down. Flashing first blood to Batao. But going to get traded away as Yu falls to the turret shot.
I mean, Batao getting that, and Burrito losing a crucial amount of experience of gold on this Ornn. He doesn't need a lot of it, but still.
Flash crash downing. I'm so sorry to cut you off, Quacks, but Gorka is burning, having to flash away, but Sendy will find it with the piercing arrow flash. And now it's Cerulean trying to dodge out, but the damage should be too great. Weber Stake claims the feat of warfare.
3 kills, 4.5 minutes in. Weber get themselves the feat of warfare, like you said, and the gold is on their carries. Batao picking up a kill, Sendy picking up a couple, and UCI, they did not want that to happen. That gold going on to those members, that is a DEFCON 1 in the early game for UCI. U13, he goes down, so there is a little bit of penance as Rosethorn gets a return kill, but honestly, it's like a participation award at that point.
Cerulean looking for it, Zhao Danny falling low, Goku-chan flashing and burning away. Will not be enough as Cerulean secures a kill.
And you know, you could take the champions out of UCI, but you cannot take the UCI out of the champions. These guys are going aggressive in the early game. They're fighting, they're scrapping, and Weber want to do the same.
Batao and Burrito. Oh my goodness!
Oh, he canceled the auto! That was crazy. Burrito hit him with the brittle proc, which canceled the auto from Batao. That would have been a kill over to the Gwen, but he stops it. Oh, he hit level 6.
Ooh, needlework is coming out, but Burrito able to dodge away just a little bit. Don't think that kill will finish coming through for Batao yet. I say because Yu's pathing back up there, and I could see a second turret dive coming off of this.
Yeah, I mean, Burrito does have flash available. He's thinning out the wave. This is dangerous for Weber State. They've got to be careful.
You?
Oh.
Turret dives tend to fall apart when you take 2 turret shots heading into them.
Yeah, that tends to happen. And that's actually really good for Irvine, because now they're going to be able to get that dragon on the bot side. You could see Rosethorn has made his way there, so we'll be able to pick that one up as a pause comes through. Mystique's potentially having some issues. You know, folks, it's good that we're getting the tech issues out of the way in game number 1 instead of the all-climactic game number 3.
Oh, don't even jinx us, Quacks. I'm not saying I believe in caster cursing, but I do believe in casters jinxing tech problems. So let's not go that direction. Let's instead focus on the fact that even for Mystique's disconnecting 0-0 and 2, you highlighted those 2 kills on Sendy. And what feels a little bit bad about that kill in mid lane is that gold went on to Cerulean on the Poppy instead of Zhao Danny on the Victor.
Definitely does. I think that Zhao Danny, honestly, it does feel bad that he didn't get the gold, but Victor as the champion, really all you want is to just be left alone in the laning phase. Right? You make your own gold, you're going to be farming up as Victor, and obviously a kill would accelerate that, but as long as you can prevent the other guy from reaching a point where he can just easily 100-0 you before you're ready, before you have literally ascended into, Victor Arcane lore accuracy, you're happy. And so I think that Zhao Danny probably doesn't mind not getting the kill gold nearly as much. A person that probably minds the kills is definitely going to be that bot lane of UCI. Like you said, it's 2 kills over to Sendy. We did see before we went to our cams yet again some gold advantages in terms of CS there for Gorica. I believe he had a little bit more than Sendy, so he's starting to marginalize the difference, but still not enough to, I would say, make a difference in the lane. If it comes down to a 2v2, Weaver are in a much better position to just take that win.
I will always say, because we're on cam, so clearly I have time to play devil's advocate just a little bit here. There is always the threat of that bullet time coming out. The sheer amount of damage that does kind of neutralizes certain gold leads, obviously not horribly big ones, but there is always that threat as we're starting to tick over to level 6, as we're starting to see those ultimates come online from everybody. Dragon should be getting cleaned up by Rosethorn on that Wukong. We'll have Grubs in a couple minutes time. But Quacks, what I want to know, because you promised me action, because you said that UC Irvine really likes fighting, and you promised me action, when is the true action gonna get started?
The true action is probably going to get started in the late game. I'm going to be honest with you on this, because we've got the Orm, we've got the Victor, we've got the Misfortune. Like you said, those R keys are the key. Quite literally. They win out with those alt buttons. And so I think until we get those active, we're probably going to just be seeing UCI either do their best to turtle or just look to steal and do other cross-map objective plays. And that's what we've been seeing so far. I mean, Rosethorn managed to take away that dragon because we saw U13 on the top side. We also saw Rosethorn try to cover the dive on the top side as well. So we have been seeing them just play defense, right? Wait and bide their time. And honestly, that's how you're supposed to be playing this comp.
Sure is. I believe I heard word that we are unpaused and can get back into game here. No, we're not. Oh, dang it. I had hope. Soon. Whenever the producer says soon, you and I both know how long that means. Because all I know is producer said soon when you're heading into draft, and well, we knew how long that takes.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, honestly, you know, it's cool. We can continue to try and yap about these teams as much as possible, but I think if it gets to a certain point, we could definitely just throw it to a pause here on the Salt Mine production side. But I will say, oh, okay, now we're back into game.
Okay, yes, we gotta wait for the pause.
We're waiting for the after pause. As many of you who are privy to broadcasting know, after a pause happens, the game just needs to catch up a little bit, you know? So while we're waiting for that, though, I suppose we can keep yapping about the game. I think, though, you know, we're talking a lot about the 80 carries, the Misfortune Bullet Time, the 2-0 Varus. I think the kind of conduit to a lot of that success, though, definitely has to be the support picks, right? We have to see the guarding from Karuli. We have to see him use that steadfast presence to get U13 and Mystiques off of him. If you can't complete that full channel with the Misfortune R, then it's not necessarily, I would say, as effective, right? And so I think tangentially, Mystiques needs to be willing to be the guy jumping in, leading with his team. And luckily he has the Orianna, so could pack an extra little bit of a punch if they can get that combo off.
Orianna with a real casual shockwave there in mid lane, by the way. Like, you were talking, and I just kind of look at that and go, that was a shockwave, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Ultimate used in lane, giving Orianna and Goku that opportunity to back, reset, all of that. As we're looking at the gold leads, you highlighted that bot side, the CS and all of that, but I think the CS lead that really is getting highlighted is in that mid side. Zhao Danny has an assist to his name, and more importantly, leading by 12 CS right now.
Those grubs are going to be coming up in about 30 seconds, and I like that you highlighted sort of the conditions of mid lane, because Goku just used that shockwave. It should come off of cooldown before that fight comes up, but he may have to use it in a more defensive manner. He's not going to have flash for this next upcoming fight, so it's going to have to be Weaver guarding their mid laner, making sure that he is in a good position to actually deal damage while not necessarily being under threat of some of those more backline divers like Rosethorn. And now Zhao Danny, who has that lost chapter, is getting a few more items under his belt, is, like you said, in a gold lead over Goku, and could really wreak havoc if left unchecked.
Well, we're 8 minutes in, so the Void Grubs have spawned. Zhao Danny not roaming up. We did see the lanes flipping. So Sendy, Mystiques, Gorica, and Cerulean all on the top side. But the fact of the matter is, they don't have entrance to that Grub pit, really. The pings are coming down, but 2 already being claimed by UC Irvine. And I gotta be real with you, Quacks. This doesn't feel very defensive as you goes in. Crescent Guard's gonna get popped just a little bit as he's flashing away. Ignites, burning Rosethorn. It's blown away. The bullet time comes over, doesn't find anybody. Now Mystique's caught out in the pit with 2. Goku's still full health. You and Sendy need to be careful. Cerulean falling low. Rosethorn on slivers of health. The grub starts. Cerulean. Sacrifice. Not. There goes the life. And now Rosethorn with the re-engage. Now Danny finds it. Crash down. Rosethorn's flashing over the wall. You looking for it. Mystique's falling low. Has to back out of this fight. You on the chase. Gorka cleans up Mystique. You fall into Zhao Danny. And as we walk away from that, it's 2-1 on grubs, but so much more on kills.
And you trying to finish off the kill, trying to get Rosethorn, but the triumph comes through. Zhao Danny protects his jungler, and you see Irvine leave that fight victorious. It was looking extremely suspect, if I'm being honest with you, at the start. Almost Gorka, his bullet time got immediately canceled. This is what we talked about. We need the defense from Cerulean. Mystiques was just instantly able to cancel that. And it felt like it was going awry, but somehow they managed to pick up the scraps. They get the 2 grubs. Weber State only get the 1, so it will be a little bit of side lane pressure and a little bit of gold given over to Batao in particular as he manages to finish off the last little tick of damage onto that plate. So this Gwen really shaping up to be, along with the Varus, the big threats that Weber need to play around.
And I do want to take a second and say that with the 2 grubs, UC Irvine is now 2 of 3 towards securing that feat of monster slaying, which should mean, in theory, they pick it up with the next dragon here in a minute's time. Needlework's coming out on the top side, but Rosethorn is here. Call the Forge God will start and finish by Burrito. He's low, he's back out, but Batao 2v1ing and not winning. Rosethorn in a bush getting caught out. Batao finds the kill.
Rosethorn was not familiar with Batao's game. Is now Gorka versus Sendy.
Barriers.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Cerulean. We do have Cerulean. We've also got you. Pings are coming down. The vision is there. And as we look towards the bot side, Sendy, you getting knocked in a turret, is going to take a turret shot. Crescent Guard comes out. Gorka takes damage, but nowhere near enough for the kill. And now Mystique's is there as well.
And it's not a lot of kills across the board. It's a plethora of action. But still, many members on the Rift stay alive. The only one going down is Rosethorn in that top lane. Batao using that snip to secure himself a kill. Dragon going to be up in about 10 seconds. You can see U13 had to use that Crescent Guard and now goes for the reset. So we'll pick up his first item of the game. Both junglers, reaching that specific breakpoint. The big difference, though, is UC Irvine. You can see in the mid lane, they've got that priority and do have temporary control of the river, but you can see that they're just not too secure in it. How much vision Weber State have in that bot side. They really don't want to pull the trigger if it can go awry.
And with Rosethorn on the top side of the map, we won't be seeing a dragon take quite yet unless you want to start it up with Weber. I do want to take a quick look at teleports as we look towards this fight. Zhao Danny, the only one with a teleport up for the next couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. And yes, he's in mid lane. Yes, he's by dragon. But still, it gives him mobility, and it is worth noting for a potential flank angle if we want things to get really spicy here around this next dragon.
Yeah, but one thing Zhao Danny does not have is that flash. So he has to be careful if there's a skirmish on this bot side. U13 also maybe has the opportunity to look around that side of the map. You can see right now he's on the blue buff, but really as this ends out, you just want to try and skirmish, create opportunities as much as possible. It looks like UC Irvine are going to be first to the jump, though, as they are now in the river.
Things are going down. The engaged Cyclone comes down. UCC'd up as the Chaos Storm's going to follow him. And there is no dragon in U's future. Flash burned. Health bar burned. Crescent Guard burned.
Really, really good there by UCI. They don't have to get the kill. All they have to do is chunk out U13, and now he's a bit obsolete for the time being, but he's still going to keep trying to fight, group up with his bot lane. You can see they're materializing around that side of the map.
Dragon, this would be a 2v4. Dragon is taking the engage, means Mystique's just falls.
Yeah, Mystique's going down there, walking a little too close, gets found by Cerulean and smacked down by the rest of UC Irvine. So the bot side, a ravishing success here for the side of UCI, but the top side, a completely different story. Burrito now having to recall is almost 30 CS down compared to Batao, and this Gwen is very close to getting that turret.
Sure is, but Yu's going to be the target of the engage. There is no Crescent Guard to pop as Rosethorn finds the kill, and no River is safe for you anymore.
Yeah, really, really good meetup there by Rosethorn, by Zhao Danny. They managed to pick up a straggler and get that kill. Yu is sitting at 0-3 on this Xin Zhao so far, so not having the brightest of first 15 minutes, but still, we're not really looking at the Xin Zhao to be the central carry here, Hummus. We're looking at it to just provide opportunities for Sendy, for Batao to deploy off of the damage it can deal with this Orianna. This is kind of Xin Zhao being the ball boy of the team, and then immediately after a shockwave comes through, Sendy and Batao, they pour in to the fight. So that is the ideal way these team fights play out, and really it doesn't require the Xin Zhao to be super ahead.
It doesn't, no. However, we are looking for Cerulean here. Flash igniting over the wall. Piercing arrow comes close, but no cigar for Sendy as he is looking for his third kill. Now Rosethorn on the engage onto Goku up here. Burrito in support. And now we can maybe possibly take a breath. We've got Rift Herald up now. We've got next Dragon in 3 minutes. And as a reminder, if anybody was paying attention to feats, we are looking for the first turret to fall to give that team the full feats of strength. Now, things are winnable without feats, but feats and special boots certainly help.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of why we're seeing UC Irvine be so defensive on the top side, right? I mean, we literally just saw Rosethorn was on that side of the map. We've been seeing a lot of swaps come through by UCI in order to defend that tower. So it really is just them trying to prevent Weber State from getting that gold as Batao.
The needlework comes out, but Cerulean looking to protect it. Gorica barriering does not matter. Batao getting Cyclone Teleport coming in. Batao doing all the damage he possibly can will not be enough as Rosethorn finds his third.
I'm honestly not sure if that's worth it for Batao. He gets the kill onto Gorica, but crucially gives gold over to Rosethorn, who has been, I would say, quietly building and amassing a significant gold lead over Yu, a player who we said has already, struggled a little bit in these first 16 or so minutes. Inversely, this Wukong has been having an absolute blast of a game, and now the kill gold going on to him from the Gwen is going to mean just that extra little bit of oomph going forward, but it's not going to matter if he can't use it. You can see that Weber State, as they've always done, are just doing the thing called cross-map play.
Horn comes out, Shockwave comes down, so Burrito won't be able to get the re-hit. Now all the members going towards this Rift Herald. Notably, Rosethorn pushed in, found the bot tier 1 turret before Weber State could find the mid tier 1. So, in a game with ornaments and all of those magical items, UC Irvine will also have the special boots as we get later on.
Yep, so UC Irvine going to pick that one up, and immediately they see Batao on the top side. They say, okay, Weber's strongest member, or rather on the bot side, they say Weber's strongest member is on the complete opposite side of the map. Our mid laner is holding him down. Let's go for the Herald. It's just a classic cross-map play. And now the interest kind of lies in where they are going to place this. We saw Weber break down that mid lane tier 1, which is going to open up a lot of opportunities for them to play on sides, and I would say really expand their vision outward. So I would imagine UCI probably are going to be looking at that mid lane turret with the Herald, but at the current moment, as it stands, it is not healthy, or it is not, unhealthy enough to be broken with one charge. They actually have to commit some time into breaking it. And so far, Weber have done just a really good job at defending that part of the map.
All right, well, you spoke it, so it shall be true. Rift Herald gets dropped in the mid line. Sendy, the only one there to defend for right now, but the knock-up Goku having to flash over the wall. He's burning you, falling low, flashing over the wall as well. The mid-tier one will fall to Gorka. Meanwhile, on the top side of your map, Batao and Burrito going at it like they have all game. The needlework, Batao finds a kill. In the mid lane, the Magnet Storm finds 3. Mystique coming in clutch, but the damage is not enough. Bullet time misses everything, but it doesn't matter when you do that much damage.
Gorka with a double, Zhao Danny with a double, the mid laner for UCI flashing forward, getting the resets, and all of Weber State are going to fall. The top lane is a win for WSU though, so at least they get a little bit of gold back. This Gwen is absolutely massive, Hummus, but it's soul points on the other side.
Yeah, that Ocean Dragon can get picked up. And, I mean, you highlighted, Quacks, how UC Irvine saw Batao on the bot side, and they took the Rift Herald fight. At the end of the day, Batao is just one man with a lot of gold and a lot of damage, but one man with one teleport, and he cannot be everywhere on this Rift at once to stem some potential bleeding that might be happening. Here at 19 minutes in, for the first time all game, we have a somewhat substantial gold lead. It's only 1.2 thousand, but it's more than we've seen for the rest of the series, and that gold lead is going to be in UC Irvine's pockets.
And honestly, I feel like that gold lead is going to progressively get more and more fake. Not only as we see the dragons coming up, you know, we are on soul point here for UCI, so that is a decent amount of pressure you know, elsewhere besides the gold, but also those ornaments are kind of, I would say, going to be downplaying the numbers a little bit. We're just going to be seeing these absolutely massive, extremely gold efficient items come through from the UCI members in not too much time now. I mean, Burrito is level 12, so he's only got a couple of levels to go before he can really start to give the magic sauce over to the rest of his teammates. And so it is going to be up to Weber to just try and get Batao around the map. We have seen this Gwen go into hibernation. She's been in the oven for 20 minutes. Now, you got to start cooking with it.
Well, right now, she's cooking that bot tier 1 turret. Nobody down there to respawn, so should get it, does get it. And Weber State, they're cooking something. Boy. It's a bush. They're cooking a bush. You starting with the engage, but the knockback is there. Zhao Danny falling low, but the keeper's verdict will keep Zhao Danny alive. Cerulean earning his keep.
Cerulean saves his mid laner. Zhao Danny did have to use the Chaos Storm, so it's an ult expended by 2 members of UCI. But you could also see that Shockwave going down for Goku as well. So a good attempt by Weber State, but a foiled one.
All right, Rosethorn going in on Mystique's here. The knock-up Cyclone comes in hard. The Crashdown gets disrupted, and Mystique's is just going to get walked down.
Yeah, Mystique's goes down. That's a member of Weber State that is unavailable for the next 20 or so seconds. They're on the top side. The Otacon is here. If the boot fits, Hummus. The boot fits.
I've never heard that saying with boot in it. I'm digressing here. Otacon gonna get taken at 21.5 minutes. We will have Baron on the map in 3.5. And as this Otacon falls, the gold lead will lengthen. The ornaments that we mentioned starting to come out. And now UC Irvine, this is a ball of doom that has started rolling.
It absolutely is. You know, 20 minutes in, Rosethorn 4-1-6, Zhao Danny 4-0-5, Gorica 4-2-1. And really, it's not necessarily at the innate power of these champions so much as it is, like we said, about those ultimates. They can seriously pack a punch as Batao is going in for a 1v3, potentially a 1v4.
1v5. The teleport comes in, the Ornhorn launches, the needlework is good, but Rosethorn goes on a rampage, and now Mystique, Zhao Danny going golden on the bot side. Zhao Danny finding it, Chaos Storm is back out, the next Storm finds 2, but Gorka secures a kill. You on the hunt, you will find it, you will fall. Goku, the last member of Weber State left alive. There is no Shockwave. There are no more ball delivery systems. And Goku will get to live. But 1 against 4 isn't promising numbers here.
It's a 4-for-1 for UCI, and they get the jump on that fight. Batao really just trying to make the hero play there going in, but I feel like really underestimated the numbers that UCI had in that top side. And so strong as he is, he cannot stand against all 5 UCI players. And he just goes down. So the main win con of Weber State knocked down a peg. And as this dragon comes up in about a minute here, Hummus, things are looking dire for Weber.
It will be Seoul if UC Irvine can pick up this dragon here in 45 seconds. Good news is that most of the ultimates from both teams will be up on the table for the fight. But Tao's starting to get that vision down. And if you're Weber State, you need to take a fight win here at some point. It needs to come soon before this gold lead blossoms. And this would be the one. They're clumping. They're clearing the vision. We've got Batao behind a wall, and he's got the needles up. If they can make it work. Vision clearing, pushing back. Chains of Corruption do land. Mystique finds 2. The Oranhorn is out, but the piercing arrow. Zhao Danny falling low. Needlework's going to miss. Mystique's will be the first to fall. Zhao Danny goes gauntlet. Bullet time finds everybody. Batao will fall. Gorka will find 3. And Sendy will not live as is a clean ace for UC Irvine.
UC Irvine triple kill over to Gorka. And the Chaos Storm is absolutely massive. It envelops all of Weber State University. Try as they may, the Gwen is not enough to carry the game. UCI will take the first one of the series.
And it was close for a very, very, very long time, Quacks. And then all of a sudden, I blinked, and it wasn't close anymore. The gold lead only under 7,000, by the way, by the end of the game. So, like, it was still close when you factor in all that tower gold. But UCI, I hate to say it if you're a Weber State fan, but UCI proving why they have beaten Weber State 3 times this year already.
And I mean, it felt like the game almost wrote itself here, Hummus. I mean, honestly, like Weber State, they got kills onto Batao. They got kills onto Sendy. They were really setting up their carries to be the heavy hitters of this game. This Varus and this Gwen were super healthy early on. Sendy got that double kill, but that's all he got. He went from 2-0 to 2-3. Batao, had a very, very good game state, but then, found himself in the middle of a 1v5. He goes down, and UCI, it just felt like they had more control of the map all game long, right? Kills be damned, gold be damned. They were controlling sides, they were controlling the jungle, and they were getting every neutral objective that they possibly could, and Weber just could not keep up at the end of all of that.
And for a team that Quacks, we said going in, needed to turtle, needed to be defensive, needed to wait it out, that was a sub 30-minute game. Like, that's not...
I mean, they waited for Weber to kind of make a mistake. I feel like UCI played the game extremely well. It was a very reactive play style from UCI, but this is a reactive team comp, honestly.
It sure is. As we look towards game number 2 in this series, we've mentioned that this is the qualifying series. Both these teams sitting at 3-2 right now. If you're not familiar with ACL, the magic number is 4. Get to 4 wins, you're in playoffs. Get to 4 losses, you're out. It's whichever one you hit first. UCI, 1 game away from being in that crucial 4-win category, and then sending Weber to the final round of Swiss that Quacks you highlighted so nicely when we were looking at draft. And for Weber State, the good news is that they don't have to play into that Wukong anymore. They don't have to deal with Zhao Danny's Victor, but they need to find an answer that's not a Gwen and that's not Batao.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I do think that another advantage here for Weber State is they've still got one more game, right? Yeah. I mean, those champions are off the board, but this is a best of 3. So they have another opportunity to come back, take us potentially to a game 3. But until that happens, we are going to take a small little break as we wait for the teams to ready on up and for the draft to commence. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Salt Mine. It's week 6. It's Weber State. It's UC Irvine. It is still Hummus and Quacks with Ice Fire Ride behind the screen. And as we look towards game number 2, UC Irvine on the cusp of that coveted spot in playoffs. Quacks, what do they need to do to seal the deal here tonight?
Well, first of all, they did something that probably increases their chances of getting that 2-0 between the games, Hummus, and that was their top laner, their main top laner, Strumpist, has returned from his misadventures and will be in game 2. It was honestly, I would say, a really good game from Burrito in that first game. He kind of got put in the spin cycle by the Gwen in that laning phase, but then again, that matchup is incredibly difficult for Orton. So I can't even fault him for that. So we are going to be seeing Strumpist in the top lane. And I'm really interested to see what the draft actually entails with a guy like this. We talked about it a little bit before the series, Hummus, but Strumpist is a very unique case when it comes to what he actually can play. He loves to go for some of those more sustained mages in the top lane. Rumble is a pick that I know that he plays. Rise is a pick that's kind of his secret sauce. And so I am wondering if we are going to be seeing a similar thing from UCI here in game number 2, not necessarily in the mid lane with the Victor, but in the top lane with a Rise. As you can see on your screen, UCI on the red side, Weber State choosing that blue side, so they are going to be the team that will have that first pick advantage.
And I'm interested to see what they will use with it. However, before we get there, as you know, we have 6 bans that technically are 16 bans, 10 champions taken off the board. We are in True Fearless here in Aegis, so champion was played, can't be played again. Good news is that means that we don't have to deal with Zhao Danny's Victor again.
Yeah, but then again, you know, we talked about it a couple of times. We mentioned it a couple of times on the cast, Hummus, in game number 1. UCI played a very different styled comp than what we're normally used to them going. Right? Like, we're usually used to seeing Zhao Danny try to pilot more AD-centric mid laners, and so who knows? Maybe it was them saving all the good stuff for game 2 or potentially game 3 so that when they do have that game advantage, they can kind of sprint home. It's kind of like what you do when you have the baton 4x100 where you're teaming up with a couple of people. You always have your fastest runner go last, and so maybe UCI are thinking, let's just finish strong and let's pull out all the stops here.
I appreciate the running reference, but Quacks, does it look like I'm a runner? Like,
you know, maybe some people will get it, you know?
Sir, we're League of Legends gamers. There's a disconnect. What I do know is that we are 4 bans in. Similar bans, in fact, pretty much identical to what we've seen before. Volibear, Jace getting higher prioritized. It was round 2 last time around. Pantheon and Camille. Gwen is off the table. The Fury could be a red side pick, but like you said, with the patch got nerfed enough that it's probably not really worth it. So I'm going to flip this. What do you want to see out of Weber State, Blue 1, that is going to convince you that we're going to game 3?
So they're banning away a lot of these, I would say, very prominent side lane threats from the top side, right? Camille can be very deadly in the side lane if you give them a grub. Pantheon obviously has that Grand Starfall, and Best is very strong in the lane. So I think Weaver are just looking to go for a 5-stack comp, right? Similar to what we saw in game number 1, they just want to fight. They don't want to have to worry about side laners. They don't want to have to worry about sending someone up to top or bot and, breaking off from the main team. And so I think we're going to be seeing just predominantly team fighters. And we saw a lot of those taken away because they were played in game 1, the Orianna, the Xin Zhao, but some are still up here, Hummus, and that Azir is one of them.
Azir was banned away last game, I believe, in round 1. So Weber State taking the opportunity to pick it up, put it on Goku, and say, in Goku we trust. The answer, that's going to be a Zhao Danny Talia.
There we go. Yep, the cross map, right? They banned away the Pantheon, tried to take that one away, but UCI have a couple of more tricks up their sleeve, so they're going to slam the Talia. Not only is this, something that can be put on the sides and, draw a lot of pressure from Weber State, but it's also an incredible counter to Azir. So this, I think, opens up a lot of priority, a lot of pick potential onto Goku. And I want to see UCI index into a jungler that can really capitalize off of those Legos being placed on the ground.
Alrighty. Senna gonna get picked up in the support for Cerulean. If I remember my patch notes correctly, Senna got really buffed heading into this.
Yes. Very strong now. I believe the soul percentage is like 14% now. Like there's a 14% drop chance, which is, I think, the highest it's ever been since this champion got released.
I'm going to take notes. There might be some Senna gameplay in my solo queue games here later on this weekend. What we do have, though, for Weaver State, as we're rounding things out, is going to be the Scion on Batao and Sendy on the Lucian. And what concerns me just a little bit, Quacks, is Lucian has a couple supports that go really well with it. Obviously, stereotypically, the Nami. But by picking Lucian and then heading into round 2, that really opens up Mystiques to get hit with a lot of bans here in phase 2.
It definitely does, but I think that maybe this is intentional from Weaver. Maybe they're looking to deliver a slam dunk for that jungle pick and just hoping that the Lucian is enough to persuade UCI to ban away all of these, like you said, extremely strong pairings with the Lucian. The Nami is one. I'm thinking another could potentially be the Melio when you've got things like the Senna. I think Melio could be really useful. And also just getting away some of these champions like the Cho'Gath with the super mega fire kick could be really valuable. So I personally think that's what Weaver State should be going for. UCI, though, have the chance to ban it away. There are a couple of other good pairings, though, I will say.
Different League of Kassadin, Lucian Janna has actually been wildly successful.
Yes, you're actually right.
Which, I mean, like, granted, that one's an Emerald League, so not quite this level, but, like, Janna's a champion that doesn't see play at this level, for the most part. And, I mean, when the Nami, when the Milio are off the table, shout out UC Irvine, they know how to ban, maybe we start pulling out the Janna. I do have to say, though, Quacks, I'm slightly disappointed in the Cho'Gath and Stompist. You hyped this guy up to do really cool things, and then he's going to be on a Cho'Gath.
I mean, Champ is still strong, in my opinion. Receives some nerfs, particularly in that mid lane, but its real strength comes from that objective stealing, right? So we are going to see a lot of these 50-50s just given over to UC Irvine. And honestly, that's kind of how they won game 1. They just took every single neutral. And when the breakpoints hit for a lot of their carries, they just ran with the game. And so now bans are over. UCI have the jungler available. And so they are going to lock the Nocturne. This is a lot of cross-map threat. Talia Nocturne is going to make getting picks or punishing, potential stragglers from Weaver State extremely easy.
And I mean, the Dawning Shadow, yes, it doesn't move Senna across the map, but it certainly drops the shielding and the healing across the map. So even a little bit of support, even when the numbers aren't there. Now, Quacks, your reaction was to the Nefiri jungle getting picked up for you. And we talked about the nerfs that got given to this champion. I think it's still a functional champion by every stretch of the imagination.
It's still functional, but it definitely got hit to the point where I don't know if I would be prioritizing this character over potentially something just that gives a little bit more damage. Like, I feel like UCI's comp as well is very tailor-made to stop champions like Nefiri's. You know, Talia will put down the Legos, Nocturne gets the point-and-click fear. It doesn't matter if you W as Nefiri, that fear will still come through. So the CC from UC Irvine makes me feel like this sort of one-threat, two-threat comp of Lucian Nefiri that is, in all intents and purposes, very short range and has to get up toward their enemies in order to actually hit them. It's a little bit of a dangerous game for Weaver. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Hummus, just with all of the CC and, you know, disengage that Irvine have drafted here in game 2.
I mean, I made a face because I forgot that Senna ADC is now a thing with the souls and the buffs and all of that. And my brain had it as Senna support. It's now a Rakan support, Senna ADC. Yep. And I mean, you're talking about disengage and you're talking about all of that. It's not Emilio, but a Rakan's really good at getting in and getting out.
Yep.
And from what we saw in game 1, where those cross-map threats, either on neutral objectives or dives or whatever, were a key part of the UCI strategy, they drafted for that. This paranoia is going to start coming out. This weaving wall is going to start coming out. And I hope that Weber State has the answers to it and the numbers and the vision to be able to counter it.
I absolutely agree. I think that this game is going to live and die by the Senna. You look across the board at UCI's comp, and you don't see a ton of carry potential. Obviously, there is damage from that top side, but I think we're really looking at this Senna, especially with the pieces that it has surrounded itself with, to be the primary carry. And this is something that I think is really cool, particularly from a player like Gorica, who definitely, I think, has the ability to flip on a switch and play champions that are a little bit more in line with just straight up sitting back and scaling, at least when you compare him to other tier 3 AD carries who just want to get the ball rolling instantly.
Absolutely. Nocturne gonna start.
Oh, not the dogs.
I got bad news, Quacks. The dogs are dead.
Don't call John Wick. Don't call Keanu Reeves. It's not one dog, but 2 dogs that went down for U13. That is just an absolute disaster. That could make not 4 movies, but potentially 8. Double the amount of Keanu Reeves versus the world.
Are we really complaining about more Keanu Reeves versus the world, though?
I'm not.
I mean, I know Keanu Reeves is getting up there, but John Wick is still one of my favorite action movies of all time.
Oh, yeah. The first one was awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's incredible. With that said, as minions start clashing in the mid wave and as buffs start coming up in jungle camps and all of that, we are going to see the same jungle pathing that we saw game number 1. You going to head up towards that top side to finish his clear. Rosethorn going to be down towards that bot side. And I do think, junglers like Nocturne, those kind of power farming junglers that really want to hit 6. I love what this new split and the grub change has done for them.
Absolutely. I think the slower game state has allowed champions like Nocturne to sort of, I don't want to say return to flavor, because I feel like Nocturne is kind of one of those evergreen junglers. But to your point, Hummus, I think the power farming playstyle was a little bit less optimal in the first split of 2025, and now has made a little bit of a return to form. And I feel like it definitely isn't a jungle definitely isn't the only role that has really enjoyed the slower game state, the scaling being a little bit more popular this time around, because we see things like the Senna, right, who are looking to capitalize off of that slower game state and carry this game. So, going back a little bit to this comp with the Senna, I think the big thing is just being able to peel for it, right? We have a lot of that disengage. We talked about it in the draft. That's going to be the big thing, just getting the Lucian and the Nefiri off of Gorica when these team fights start to roll around.
That will be on the top side of the map. Strumpus picking up right where Burrito left off in getting those trades with Batao. Now Danny's recall is going to get stopped by the Sand Soldier there. And I mean, Gorica, we talked about peeling. Gorica running Flash and Ghost, plus the extra movement speed out of the Curse of the Black Mist. This champion is building movement speed and evasion. And I believe in Gorica's ability to get out of things in a pinch. And that's a lot of summoner spells that you have to get through to really trap this champion down.
Yeah, Gorica misses the root. Mistakes misses the combo.
Cerulean gets the double engage. Sendy popping the barrier. The root will not quite connect as it hits a minion. And I mean, okay.
Yeah, and we can see on the top side as well, both junglers ending up on that side of the map, but you understanding that he doesn't have the prio in top lane. Strumpus has pushed. He's going to concede that camp for now. And also, we'll get a little bit more of just a nice tempo uptake here for himself, as he will be on the side of his respawning Raptor. So if he wants, could just immediately pivot to that. Could also look for maybe something aggressive on the bot side, but I don't think a dive is really in the cards with how healthy Gorka and Cerulean are at the moment.
A dive like that feels a little bit hard. Both of the mid laners reset, teleported back into lane, and they're now on the hunt for you. They know where he is because of that vision that was popped. And with all of our bot lanes roaming up, we've got 30 seconds until Dragon, and we might see a fight. Goku starting the engage with the fleeing, popped back. And there's, flashes happened. My screen froze for me. Pardon that. But Mystique, Cerulean is now here. Sendy over a wall going over Cerulean falling to half. The dogs are out. But you flashing.
The fear comes through.
From Zhao Danny. Mystique falling low. Gorka finally getting in on it first. Blood over to Mystique's. And as the health bars continue to fall low, Gorka looking for the clean out. Goku dies next. You, in the middle of everything, you can't find double kill to Gorka.
Yeah, that kill is going exactly where UC Irvine want them to. It's 2 for 2 at the end of the day. Batao actually getting a solo kill onto Strumpus in the top lane. We missed that, but the Scion getting the better of the Cho'Gath. Nonetheless, though, I would say that is definitely an advantage for UCI out of that fight. They get the gold onto Gorka. The Senna is an incredibly healthy position. Is going to try and get a little bit of a shove in here, but Mystique's is on the flank, so he has to be extremely careful.
Ooh, the flash headbutt in. Gorka does pop the Curse of Black Mist, but is going to get stunned up, getting 1v2 knocked back. Mystique's doesn't find the kill, but make sure that Sendy gets it.
Yeah, Sendy gets the shutdown. Feats of Warfare acquired. Weber State get their revenge on the bot side. Gorka as well, down both summoners. So Weber, U13 in particular, maybe has an opportunity to look for something on the bot side of the map, force a fight. This Dragon is up and available, but he is facing off against
Weaver's wall. You going over the wall, but it doesn't matter because he gets knocked back. Rosethorn gets the kill, but Zhao Danny makes sure he can't escape.
Really, really good awareness there from Zhao Danny. He uses the Weaver's wall. That's a really long cooldown. But honestly, they pick up the kill and they continue to shut down this Neferi. We haven't talked a lot about it, but Weaver, you know, despite the nerfs to this champion, Neferi still is the centerpiece to a lot of the comps that it's involved in, right? You want to play around this champion. You want it to be your carry. And so an 0-2 start really is just not a good look for Weaver so far. I feel like the Lucian is in a much better position, but you can just see how carefully Sendy has to play the laning phase with that range disadvantage.
Absolutely. Mystique will use that little Hex Flash there. Gorka has the movement speed, but the Devil Headbutt pulverized. Puyu is here. Looking for the engage. Cerulean falling about half health, stunned up. Needs to be a little bit careful. Cerulean having to flash away. You there in support, but they won't be able to finish out the turret dive. And now Gorka needs to be careful getting knocked up. Gorka under turret. Gorka will fall as you finds a kill.
Gorka just disrespecting Weber State. He doesn't have any summoners, but he keeps walking up. And Weber, they put him right back down. A kill finally over to this Neferi. Ooh, and the paranoia comes
out. I saw it up. Rosethorn, Cerulean. The barrier comes out. Mystique's doing all the spacing he possibly can, but it's not enough. Sendy will fall as Rosethorn gets the kill. Flashing forward, the knockback. Zhao Danny puts in the work. Mystique's will die. There it goes. Zhao Danny gets the kill. They had to pause for dramatic effect, you know? Like, they couldn't kill him too fast.
Yeah, it was also the fact that Cerulean might have been in tower range there. I feel like 1 centimeter to the left, and it might have been a return kill for the support of Weber. But nonetheless, it's just a trade of kills over on the bot side, rather. Sorry, for both of these teams. And a little bit of a thorn in the side of UCI has been created. Most notably, the fact that Gorica going from 2-0 now to 2-2 still doesn't have that flash either. So the Senna continuing to be vulnerable. Dragon is still up. I'm actually surprised neither team has really put their foot on the gas with this objective, with how scaling oriented both of these comps are. You'd think they wanted to get the ball rolling with this objective as early as possible, but so far, almost 10 minutes in, it remains untouched.
Now, what doesn't remain untouched are the Void Grubs. You has started those up towards the top side of the map.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's Infernal Dragon. Everybody loves Infernal Dragons. The other thing that I want to keep an eye on is we're at 9 minutes in here. Strompist has, I believe, if I've been counting correctly, 2 stacks of that feast right now, starting to get bigger, starting to get chunkier. But Tau is proxying this wave, and I don't think he knows Roseborn is right there. But Tau gonna get caught out, does not have the unstoppable onslaught, and will go zombie mode, and it doesn't matter. Strompus finds a kill on the top side.
Yeah, Strompus getting his first of the game. And it's a bit of time committed there by Rosethorn. Weber State are going to get information that he is on the top side of the map. We aren't seeing too much reaction, though, but there's a fight in the bot lane.
Engage from Cerulean. Sendy at about half health, but needs to be a little bit careful. Mystique's able to get in support, and Gorica just getting those souls down by continuing that auto attack. And now Zhao Danny in the mid side has the support of Rosethorns.
Yep. You can see they've got the push in the bot lane. U13 still on the top side of the map. I really want to see this Nefiri roam on down toward bot lane and just try and put some more attention into this Dragon, because you've obviously got your early game powerhouses like the Nefiri, like the Lucian, who really scale and you know, have their peak at around the 2 to 3 item mark, I would say. But past that, it really isn't super bright for Weber State. Goku is going to have to be your primary carry on this Azir once those team fights start hitting. And you haven't done a ton to nurture that part of the game quite yet. It feels like they have been playing in the now, haven't really been preparing for the late game. UCI, they've been doing the opposite. They have been giving all of the gold over to Gorica. They've been giving the gold over to Rosethorn. And although they haven't shown it with the objectives, they are definitely setting up to have a much more prosperous, 20, 25 plus minute game time.
I mean, to be fair, when we're talking objectives, we're really just talking the one set of grubs. Dragon finally going to get started up by Rosethorn. It was started up by you and then promptly abandoned. It looks like UCI decided 11.5 minutes. We're up 1,000 gold. Now's the time for this Dragon. It will get secured. And we'll have a Chemtech Dragon on the Rift for the second Dragon in 5 minutes time. Now we're at about 12 minutes in, and we're starting to look towards these turret plates falling and all of that. And I will say, while there's been a lot of action, I mean, we're at 10 kills. We're basically averaging a kill a minute here, Quacks. Hasn't been a whole lot of that turret plate gold coming out from these teams.
No, it hasn't. And honestly, I feel like that is perfectly fine for UCI, more so than Weber, right? Because UCI are champions that don't necessarily need to scale off of gold, right? Senna scales off of the souls, Cho'Gath scales off of the stacks. You've got these champions that have the ability to kind of circumvent the gold aspect of the game and are still strong later on. And so I feel like the onus definitely is on Weber to make the most of those grubs that they took earlier and really start cracking on these side lanes. Oh boy,
it comes out. Goku and you looking for Cerulean's got
Cerulean!
The Shuriman Shuffle goes wide, and they will live.
Holy moly, Cerulean putting the fancy footwork onto all of Weber State. They're still down here, though, maybe looking for a re-engage. And I have to highlight that Shroud from Gorica completely screws over U13. He can't use his point-and-click ultimate when the target isn't able to be clicked on. And so they just get away completely scot-free. Don't even have to burn the flashes, Hummus.
Gorica used the ghost, but we're going back in on Mystiques here on the bot side. You gonna finish the recall, and now Batau under turret. Strompist, holy demolish proc! I spoke too soon on those turret plates.
Ow! Strompist has to flash, but will get out for the time being, maybe disrespecting the tower range a little bit. As, we were talking just about turret plates not too long ago, and it seems like Strumpist and Batau have been the ones really just trying to get those under control. As you...
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to call there. That's just a dive. You, though, Cerulean taking turret shots. Mystique's falling low. Mystique's is tanky. Fendi getting rooted up. Gorka, holy damage. Turret dive goes wide. Rosethorn does not have the paranoia up. And, oh yeah, by the way, Otacon's going to be spawning on the bot side of the map here in 6 minutes' time.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get a kill on the bot side, but they still are going to force recalls off of the bot lane members. So UCI, if nothing else, will be able to, at the very least, to give themselves a cleaner recall on this side of the map. But that kill on this Trumpist means that Batau is just going to have his way with the turret for the time being. You can actually see a Zhao Danny who is immediately going to be the one to react to the top side and maybe try and put a stop to the Scion. Some swappage seems to be going around here for UCI. And honestly, ahead of the Rift Herald, I really like this call.
Yep, I do too. We'll see what happens. Gorka in the mid lane. Everybody rotated up a lane. And now the question is, how is Weber State going to answer it? And the answer is, they're not going to have everybody up on the top side. But Tau doesn't have the unstoppable onslaught available. Yu's just now getting the mid lane. And as the pings are coming down, Rift Herald is on the map. And now Weber State starting to pull up that way. Meanwhile, they're just letting Strumpist free farm on the bot side.
I mean, Strumpist also doesn't have teleport, so UCI don't really have, the numbers to actually go for a contest here. They do have the upgraded smite from Rosethorn, so if they can find an angle to maybe look for a steal, that could be a viable option.
Is up. Paranoia comes stolen by Rosethorn. The culling comes out. The shadow comes across. You falls low. The Weaver's Wall separates it. The Emperor's Divide does nada. The unstoppable from Batau, but Zhao Danny finds Goku. And now that is 2 members collapsing onto Batau and 2 collapsing onto Mystiques. Mystiques will fall. Sendy over the wall. Joke's on you. There's Zhao Danny. Double kill to Gorka. And the last one standing is Batau.
And 4v5 be damned, UCI came to play. They get everything in that exchange. A 4 for nothing. They get the Herald as well. They come out of that fight rich. A 5k gold difference now has hit the Rift 16 and a half minutes in. And oh my lord, that team fighting, that was just immaculate, Hummus.
It was, and on the bot side of the map, Strumpist, well, our screen's frozen, so we can see him in split frame, found the bot tier 1 turret, most of the way through the bot tier 2 turret. The little demolish proc there are going to secure that turret. Come on, hit it, thank you. From Strumpist.
Life for it.
Maybe you looking for it. Strumpist does have the feast up, so you need to be careful with that hit bar. Strumpist!
Don't get too close.
They're looking, he's in the bush. They've got the vision off of the cow. Strumpist finds it! Oh my goodness! Cerulean here in support. Strumpist!
Cerulean's gonna save him, no way!
Cerulean with the knockup, but Tau won't be able to even finish off the kill. Strumpist will live. And now Rosethorn with the paranoia. This took long enough that Batau will fall as Chemtech Dragon comes up and Rift Herald gets dropped in the mid lane.
I don't know how dog tastes. I don't think Strumpist probably enjoyed that, but that was an absolutely hilarious kill, and Gorka's just gonna go for a drive-by hit onto Sendy before they turn their attention.
Cerulean with the flash, the pop blossom thingy-mabopper over the wall, and the barrier doesn't matter. Gorka finds 5, and every member of UCI has a shutdown. And now Cerulean with the quickness over the wall, looking for a little bit more. The Shuriken Shuffle does come out, teleport's coming in, but Rosethorn with the shield. Goku is not strong enough. The shield Goku will fall. Rosethorn on the rampage. Rosethorn shut down by Batau as the teleport came through. You on slivers of health. Gorka, the knock-up. Zhao Danny goes on a killing spree as Mystiques falls.
Gorka!
And now Batau finds another. Batau finds 3.
It's a triple for Batao. UCI maybe getting a little too hyped up there. They go for one fight on the bot side, then they go for a pick in the mid lane, then they go for another fight in the top lane. It's 3 fights in succession of one another. And they were just running off of hype, G Fuel, and maybe some monster.
Looking for Batao. Has the level. Batao. Okay. I was going to say, y'all, Zhao Danny has the ward, knows they're looking for him. We're okay.
No, we're not okay.
Never mind. Use here. They're looking for the turret dive. The stun knockup. Paranoia comes out. Rosethorn comes in. Across comes the dawning shadow. Rosethorn finds Goku. And Zhao will live. Mystique here in support. But Tao has the shield. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, Stromp is hunting after Sendy under that turret. Top side, Rosethorn doing all the work as Zhao Danny will recall Rosethorn. Cerulean 1v2ing. Why not? Rosethorn on Batao falling low. The smite Cerulean will get out of there because he's Rakan. Holy quickness! What finds you?
What is happening this game?
Oh, did I mention Gorka found the tier 2 mid turret there and is continuing the onslaught? And did I mention that Mystiques won't be able to kill Cerulean because Cerulean is just too fast? Goku will find Gorka in the mid lane, but Zhao Danny finds Batao as Cerulean finds Mystiques.
And it's 9-19 in kills for practically 9k gold up here for UCI. The last 5 minutes have just been some happy gaming from the side of the University of California, Irvine. These guys, they're just playing around the map, looking for fights left and right. This game feels like a foregone conclusion, Hummus. Strumpus, don't do it to him.
It does a little bit. Strumpus figured out what dog tastes like, wants to know what ancient mummy tastes like.
Bird!
Found it.
Yep, there we go. And another one bites the dust, or should I say someone is yeah, I mean Strumpus is the one biting, if we're being completely honest with ourselves here, is now getting a little bit back to focus, hopefully. Otherwise, maybe UCI just want to keep going absolutely crazy with this game. Dragon up 20 minutes in, only the second one taken. We talked a bit about how instrumental a late game objective like Soul would be for a comp, on both sides of the coin, honestly, for Weber and UCI, and that has not been a focal point at all. They have not cared. They have just been fighting. This is the UCI that I was talking about in game number 1, Hummus.
This is the UCI I was promised, and this is the UCI that is impressing. And now UCI looking for their second Otacon of the series. And Rosethorn has the healing. It's slow, but he'd do it by himself if he needed to. Otacon at 21 minutes will fall. Baron spawning in 3. And Quacks, we didn't see Soul in game 1. They won the fight and took the Nexus instead. And I'm going to be real with you, I don't think we're going 10 more minutes to see Soul in this game either.
Yeah, it's looking a little bit rough for Weber State. I mean, their win conditions have just completely fallen flat in this game number 2. We've got 1-5 for Goku, 1-3 for Sendy, U13 as well. Really hasn't been getting the resources needed in order to carry on this Nefiri pick. The guy with the most gold is the tank. And UC Irvine have more than enough answers to deal with the front line of Weber State at this point. You can see they've got the Leandries from Zhao Danny. They've got the Execute from Strumpus. They've also got just the insane amount of damage coming out from Gorka as well. So they've got more than enough fight in them to be able to take down the raid boss that is Batao. And I mean, Weber State just don't have the resources needed in order to shut down this top side.
They are 10,000 gold down right now, and of their gold lead, most of it on Batao, coming off of that triple kill he got up here by this turret. A triple kill, notably, where all 3 members he killed had shutdowns. Like, every single member of UCI, including the support, had a shutdown gold value of some amount. Zhao Danny, 700 gold shutdown right now, and 10 stacks on that Magi's. Speaking of Zhao Danny, here it is with the Weaver's Wall. Teleport coming in, doesn't matter. The damage is there under turret. They find Sendy, they find Goku, they find mistakes. They find the turret. You and Batao having to use that ult defensively, and now Strumpist. No minions, no care. The turret falls before Strumpist does, and that's going to be a 23-minute inhibitor for UC Irvine.
It might just be a 23-minute game. I mean, they don't have a ton of wave clear. Weaver State, they have to get up to the wave, but they can't do that.
They're looking for it. Batao under tower. The turret shots are starting to hurt. Batao finds Cerulean, but will go zombie mode as Zhao Danny goes unstoppable. Strumpist will fall. It may have been a structure too far, but Yu goes in, gets the damage. Yu falls. Gorka is huge.
Teleport.
Goku teleporting on the backside doesn't have it to find the kills. Gorka, buddy.
Oh no. He's looking for the kill on Descent. He honestly, as the Bouse would say, it's a good death.
Oh my god, we're going back into the paranoia. He's looking for another one. Rose Thorn with the spell shield with the fleeing.
No way. Oh my god. The fear is too crazy. UCI, man, these guys are the embodiment of the Bay Life attitude for California. Screw it, we ball. Let's go back in. It's happy gaming all the way, and Weber State cannot find themselves out of this pickle.
And UC Irvine, by all measures, Quacks, they overstayed their welcome after taking that inhibitor. And it didn't matter. Like, you and Goku, they just kind of died in like the shower of gold coins raining from Rose Thorn's pockets. I'm almost interested if we could get a gold toggle at some point, but Weaver's Wall is going to come out across.
Wait, Danny killed the top laner.
Can they? Yes, maybe. They are committing 4 to Strumpist here, and Strumpist still finds you. He's at half health. Cerulean is here. The Emperor's Divide comes out. Strumpist will fall to Goku, but here comes Rose. Cerulean getting knocked up to half health. Double kill to Goku. The carry might be online, but it may be too little, too late. Rose Thorn getting chunked. The paranoia comes out in defense. Will not be able to get away. The Dawning Shadow doesn't matter as Goku finds the third. But now, Zhao Danny finds 2. But Zhao flashing. Unstoppable Onslaught is not up. The triple to Zhao Danny. This is a 46 kill game in 25 minutes, Quacks.
And Zhao Danny does his best Scorpion impression. He says, "Get over here, Weber State University." He finds 3, and Weber, just when it was looking like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel for that fight, they had picked up so many kills, so much gold. They get a rock thrown in their face, and you see Irvine, nothing has changed in this game, Hummus.
No, it hasn't. Third dragon up on the map. We are going to be on Cloud Soul this game if we get to Soul Point. Where we're at right now is UCI has the run of this map. Baron up on the map. And if we could, production can
I do want to see a stack counter.
Can we get a Strumpist stack check?
And a Gorka stack check. Yeah.
I want both here. Strumpist is kind of chonky.
Strumpist is a thick boy. Gorka is, a long boy. As now, UCI, they have the Baron, their sights are set on that objective, and honestly, Weaver, what can they realistically do? I mean, they've got some ultimates like the Emperor's Divide. I would say that Goku has definitely had a beneficial past couple of minutes. This Azir in particular has gotten some gold back into his pockets that he was lacking, around 10 minutes ago. But is it enough to make the difference?
Well, we're about to find out. The Unstoppable Onslaught comes in as Batao starts us off. Strumpist falling low. Weaver's Wall. Rose Thorn, the Emperor's Divide doesn't matter when you get paranoid. Rose Thorn finds 2. Zhao Danny and Strumpist both find 1. They're not even wearing purple yet.
And it's an easy fight win for UCI. Batal is going to teleport back to the base, try and save this game. But he's one man against an army. UCI march onto the base.
Yes, they do. Turret inhibitor. The respawn timers are at 20 seconds. There is no overstaying. You're welcome here. Stromp is taking double turret shots left, right, and center. Gorka finds the inhibitor. Strumpus finds Batal. And Batal's zombie mode can't find anything. Weber State has one last shot. The paranoia comes out. The damage is not there. The culling. They're going for the under fountain ace, and they will find it. UC Irvine finds ACL playoffs.
The 4 series has been complete. UCI, an absolute dominant fashion, especially in game 2 here, Hummus. They will be the victors here in week number 6. And for the side of Weber State University, Hummus, for all intents and purposes, I can't really find a better term for you and Weber State than they are your ops. So we're going to go with that. They now sit at the 3-3 marker, a very, very scary thing to have to stare down in week 7.
It sure is. That's a next week problem. For right now, I want to take a look at UC Irvine. And more impressively, Zhao Danny, 9-0-19 on that Talia. Managed to not die a single time that game in all the chaos, in all the questionable team fights that Quacks, you and I were just laughing through. Managed to not die a single time. And I see now why you were hyping this guy up to me. It clicks now, Quacks.
Yeah, I mean, and these weren't even the champions that I personally know the guy for. I mean, he loves his AD mid laners, and we didn't see a single AD mid laner in this series. So that's only a taste of what this guy can dish out. He is cooking in the kitchen. And I can't wait to see more of UC Irvine and hopefully see more of Weber State. As like I said, they are going to be going to that 3-3 bracket. Next week is going to determine their fate. But for the time being, the fate of these casters and the people behind the screen, just one man, Icefire, I thank you so much to him, is going to be to have a good night. And we are wishing you all the same. So we will see you all next week. Take care.